Ardgillan Castle, the bride who never left. The true haunted history of Ireland's most heartbreaking castle. On the windswept coastline of North County Dublin, overlooking the cold grey waters of the Irish Sea, stands Ardgillan Castle. Unlike many of Ireland's medieval fortresses, Ardgillan is a graceful country house surrounded by ancient woodlands, colourful gardens, and peaceful walking trails. During daylight, families picnic beneath centuries-old trees, children laugh in the gardens, and tourists admire the breathtaking sea views stretching toward the mountains of Mourne. Few visitors realize that after sunset, the atmosphere changes completely. The silence becomes unnaturally heavy, footsteps seem to echo through empty corridors, and many believe that one tragic soul still wanders the halls, forever searching for a life that was stolen from her. Among Ireland's many haunted locations, Ardgillan Castle has become famous not because of violent battles or gruesome executions, but because of an enduring legend centered on heartbreak, betrayal, and a wedding day that ended in death. While historians agree that the castle has witnessed centuries of family triumphs and tragedies, local folklore has transformed one particular tale into one of Ireland's best-known ghost stories. The estate itself dates back to the 18th century, although the lands were occupied long before the present house was built. Ownership eventually passed to the Taylor family, who expanded the estate into the elegant Gothic-style mansion that still stands today. Wealthy families, servants, gardeners, and estate workers filled the property for generations. Like many grand Irish houses, Ardgillan experienced periods of prosperity followed by hardship. Changing political conditions, economic struggles, and the decline of the landed gentry slowly transformed the estate. Eventually, the property came into public ownership, allowing thousands of visitors to explore its rooms and gardens. Yet despite renovations and careful preservation, stories persisted that not everyone who had once lived there had truly departed. The most famous legend tells of a young woman whose identity has never been conclusively established in historical records. Some versions call her the daughter of a wealthy family connected with the estate. Others describe her as a beautiful noblewoman from another influential household. According to the traditional story passed down through local generations, she was deeply in love and eagerly preparing for her wedding. Every room in the house buzzed with excitement. Servants decorated the halls with flowers gathered from the gardens. Musicians rehearsed for the celebration. Expensive gowns and jewelry arrived from Dublin, while relatives traveled from across Ireland to witness the marriage. The castle, usually quiet and dignified, was filled with anticipation for what everyone believed would become one of the happiest days in the family's history. On the morning of the wedding, the bride was radiant. Witnesses in the legend recall her smiling as sunlight poured through the tall windows overlooking the sea. Her white dress shimmered as she descended the grand staircase, greeted by friends and family who admired her beauty. The groom waited anxiously below, surrounded by guests eager to celebrate the union. The atmosphere was one of pure joy. Yet fate, according to the haunting tradition, had something far darker in store. As the bride reached the upper landing of the staircase, disaster struck without warning. Some accounts claim that the polished wooden steps had become dangerously slippery. Others suggest that the long train of her wedding dress caught beneath her feet. A few versions even whisper that someone unseen brushed against her shoulder. Whatever truly happened, the young woman suddenly lost her balance. Before anyone could react, she tumbled violently down the staircase. Horrified screams echoed through the entrance hall as family members rushed toward her broken body. Despite desperate attempts to save her, she died before the wedding ceremony could begin. The celebration instantly became a funeral. The tragedy devastated everyone connected with the estate. Decorations meant for a joyful occasion remained hanging in silence. The wedding feast was abandoned. Musicians packed away their instruments without playing a single song. Instead of wedding bells, mourners heard church bells announcing death. According to local folklore, the groom never fully recovered from the loss. Some versions claim he never married another woman. Others say he left Ireland entirely, unable to bear the memories that haunted every corner of Ardgillan. Whether these details are historically accurate remains uncertain, but the emotional core of the legend has endured for generations. Soon after the funeral, strange stories began to spread among servants. During quiet evenings they reportedly heard soft footsteps descending the staircase despite finding nobody there. Housemaids claimed they occasionally caught the faint scent of fresh flowers drifting through empty corridors long after all bouquets had been removed. Several servants allegedly refused to work alone after dark because they believed someone watched them from the upper landing where the bride had fallen. One elderly housekeeper reportedly insisted that she once saw a young woman dressed in pale white standing silently beside the staircase. Assuming it was a guest, she greeted the figure politely. The woman simply smiled before disappearing as if dissolving into the evening light. The terrified housekeeper later discovered that no visitors matching the description had entered the castle that day. She never again walked through that hallway alone. As decades passed, reports became increasingly detailed. Garden workers occasionally noticed a woman in a flowing dress gazing toward the sea from an upstairs window. Visitors exploring the castle have described sensing overwhelming sadness near the staircase, even before learning the ghost story associated with it. Some claim cameras unexpectedly malfunction inside certain rooms, while others report sudden cold spots that cannot easily be explained despite warm summer weather outside. One recurring account involves phantom footsteps. Staff members responsible for locking the castle after closing hours have described hearing slow footsteps descending from the upper floor after confirming that the building was completely empty. Assuming a visitor had remained inside accidentally, they searched every room only to find no one. The footsteps stopped the moment they reached the staircase. Another story concerns unexplained doors. Employees have occasionally reported carefully locking interior doors only to discover them standing open minutes later. Security checks revealed no evidence of forced entry or intruders. While such events could have ordinary explanations related to aging buildings, believers consider them further signs that an unseen resident continues to move freely through the castle. Paranormal investigators have visited Ardgillan over the years hoping to document unusual activity. Some claim electronic voice recordings captured faint whispers too quiet to hear during the investigation itself. Others reported sudden temperature drops concentrated around the staircase. Although none of these findings constitute scientific proof of haunting, they have added another layer to the castle's supernatural reputation. Perhaps the most emotional experiences come from visitors with no prior knowledge of the legend. Several individuals have later shared that they unexpectedly felt overwhelming grief while standing near the grand staircase. A few described feeling compelled to look upward, convinced someone stood watching from above. After hearing the story of the bride, many said the unexplained sadness suddenly made disturbing sense to them. Skeptics argue that the castle's atmosphere naturally encourages imagination. Historic houses often creak as timber expands and contracts with changing temperatures. Old plumbing, shifting foundations, coastal winds, and uneven floors can create mysterious sounds easily mistaken for paranormal events. Human psychology also plays a powerful role. Once people know a location is supposedly haunted, they become more likely to interpret ordinary occurrences as supernatural. Historians likewise point out that documentary evidence supporting the famous bride story is surprisingly limited. No definitive historical record has been found confirming the exact identity of the woman or proving that such a fatal wedding accident occurred precisely as described. This has led many researchers to conclude that the tale evolved gradually through oral tradition, blending fragments of genuine family tragedies with local folklore. Nevertheless, the absence of complete historical documentation has never diminished the legend's popularity. Across Ireland, many ghost stories survive because communities preserve them through storytelling rather than official records. Even today, Ardgillan Castle remains one of Dublin's most intriguing heritage sites. During daylight it welcomes visitors who admire its elegant architecture, Victorian interiors, and spectacular gardens overlooking the Irish Sea. Weddings are once again celebrated within its beautiful grounds, creating joyful memories where tragedy is said to have once unfolded. Yet when evening settles over the estate and mist drifts through the ancient trees, many locals quietly wonder whether one guest still lingers after everyone else has gone. Those who work inside the castle often treat the legend with respectful caution. Some smile when asked about the ghost, while others simply avoid discussing the subject altogether. A few admit that strange things occasionally happen but refuse to offer explanations. Whether these experiences arise from history, psychology, coincidence, or something beyond human understanding remains impossible to prove. The story of Ardgillan Castle endures because it speaks to one of humanity's deepest fears, not monsters or violence, but dreams destroyed in a single tragic moment. If the legend contains even a fragment of truth, perhaps the young bride never sought revenge or wished to frighten the living. Perhaps she simply never realized her wedding day had ended before it truly began. And if, on a quiet evening, you climb the grand staircase and hear soft footsteps behind you, resist the temptation to turn around too quickly. According to generations of local folklore, the lonely bride of Ardgillan Castle may still be making her final journey down those stairs, forever walking toward a ceremony that destiny never allowed her to complete.